All right. 50 Shades Freed. I hate the name, bro. I really hate the name of this movie. All right. For some reason, it annoys me. Okay, 50 Shades Freed after 20 minutes. All right. So they had the whole thing in, had cut the honeymoon short. They got to go back to Seattle, back to the, you know what I'm saying, whatchamacallit. So let me make sure I put this up there. So they go back. He walks her in, and then so this next, I stopped at the 20 minutes. So this next little 8 minutes is really kind of sort of her just getting acclimated to certain little changes and whatnot. And so, like again, this is one of those. It's like yes, it's definitely a chick flick, but it's like almost like this is one of these like little perfect type of lifestyles or whatever, man. So she gets in as soon as they walk in. Uh, I forget that one lady's name, but she's like the housekeeper, whatever, right? Gail is the housekeeper. So then, but standing next to Gail are two people, Prescott and Sawyer, and that is now Anna's personal security. So now she has personal security everywhere she goes. That's she has personal security everywhere she goes. She is going back and forth with being called the whole Mrs. Grey thing and just Anna and so Gail is like, Mr. Grey. He goes on Mr. Grey. It was just kind of sort of weird to just call you Anna. I'm just gonna keep calling you Miss. I'm just keep it as Mrs. Grey. So that's just easy for her. Um, then, so now she has personal security, and then the housekeeper Gail is telling her. So like, um, basically she's like, okay, uh, what decor do you want to change? She was like, you gotta start thinking about how you want the house to run. And so she's like, huh? It's like, she was like, you need to start thinking about how you want the house to run, flowers, dinner menus, decor, just how you want the house to run, everything around the house. So like, that's definitely like, just to put that on your brain or your mind or anything like that. If you have to kind of, just to even think like, okay, you're going to you have somebody who needs to, how do I, like, I think you get that, right? You have a housekeeper and you tend to tell the housekeeper, okay, well, this is what I want to change, like the decor, house colors, wallpapers, the stuff to look like. This one I want, the dinner menu and, the personal chef and what to eat and cook. And so she was like flowers, this list of this and the third. So she has to get used to that or whatever. And so she was like, all right, well, what do you want for dinner? And then she was like, well, Anna's like, well, she wants to cook instead of telling Gail to cook something. So Anna cooked some steak, medium rare. And then from there, because, like a lot of, like, they don't have any, like, real, like, problems. Well, never mind. There's some other little stuff. But, like, in a relationship, it ain't no real problems or whatever. So it'd be like the smallest things of what somebody says, and then it leads to something that's kind of sort of supposed to be like serious or whatever. And so she cooks Christian steak for dinner, and then he was like, I can get used to this. Like you been in the kitchen, and she's like, what, barefoot and pregnant? So that's supposed to be a whole thing, right? So she was like, well, I'm assuming the barefoot part didn't make you almost choke on your steak. So I'm assuming, and so she was like, what, you don't want kids? And he was like, sure, just not now. Just one day, just not now. So she presses him a little bit about the whole wanting kids thing. And he's like, I'm not ready to share you yet. Not with anybody, not now, not with anybody. So, he has that overprotective whatever, right? So then there's that part. I just think like, I was about to post that because that is just on some, again, like luxury vibes, a different type of lifestyle. You have somebody who's, like, mind you, she just got personal security. That's one, right? And then she has a housekeeper, and she get to tell the housekeeper, this is how I want this room to look. I want these flowers. I want this there, the furniture. This I want everything to look, or this I want to have cooked for dinner. This I want in the refrigerator. You tell somebody to do all that type of stuff, right? So that's just one thing to kind of sort of like think about, right? That's like, if you had to sit down like, okay, this is what I want and this is how I want things to look, and you got somebody to do that. That was this whole thing, right? So there's that. She's like, you know what? I know it's a lot for you to, take in, digest. So you don't got to think about that right now. And then they cook dinner. They have a whole little discrepancy about the whole like he wants kids, but not right now. And I think that's mostly understandable for most people. Just as a one part though, that is something, right? Like if whoever you're talking to or whatever, um, and then the when conversation or if somebody jokingly says something that talks like a progression point, and whether like those are things that kind of like really does that lets you know somebody like how serious somebody is taking you, or like that can make them or not comfortable at certain times. Like she mentioned pregnancy and having kids, right? So like if you talking to a shorty and then she mentioned getting married, yeah, things was cool, but marriage, yeah, you like things is cool, kids, well, you see, like it be those type of things. So that do be a thing, and because like for a woman, uh if she like says and hints and jokes at certain stuff, and then you don't like, because that would be a thing for you to either like go along with it, but then that will make it that makes it that can dependent like if the man is really willing and ready and this and the third, like that's one thing, but if he not, then it's one of those things that a man don't even joke about. So if it's like marriage and this and the third, oh, we don't even joke about that. Like, or if it's like, but they're married, but if kids, oh, we don't even joke about that. It ain't even like, well, we might about to entertain this conversation or nothing, right? So that'd be a whole thing, unless uh, this is just as an aside to that though. Sometimes some people will entertain certain topics of this and the third to put it on the woman's mind to move things forward. And like if you meet a shorty or whatever and you ain't cracked yet, then you would say or mention certain things and certain topics, and because that puts things forward in her mind in a certain sense, so then that lets the other things not be as much of a progression. I hope that kind of sort of makes sense. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like if you just start talking to a shorty, and then like y'all have certain conversations about marriage and kids, those are like very far down the line, but that also implies that at some point in the line sex has been whatchamacallit. So that makes it, if you get her willing to talk about those topics, then the other part shouldn't be as that type of thing. That's all I'm trying to say. So they have that, and then the next day she goes to work and she got another promotion. So this is why I say like this is just on some like just the perfect lifestyle, and just the things that you could hope for, wish for, whatever. So she goes into work and finds out she got a promotion. She's the new fiction editor. She's like, "Who's the new fiction editor?" "You are." She's like, "Oh, you got a promotion. You wasn't even here." Like that whole type of thing. Then so she gets a promotion. Her office is now just rearranged and decorated. Hannah comes in and she was like, "Who that?" And Hannah's eyeballing her security, and then they like so Hannah tells her like, "Yo," she talked to the IT department to have her name changed to her email changed to uh, Gray, Anastasia Gray, but then she was like, "Nah, just keep it as Steele." So of course, then a little bit later, Anna is having a conversation with new Arthur or whatever, Boyce, and she's talking to him or whatever, and then Christian walks in, and he was like, "Let me have a moment." And she was like, "No, I'm not done with." She's not done talking to her Arthur yet, and then Arthur was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna grab her coffee." And then so Christian was like, "Yeah, I tried emailing you. It got bounced." He was like, "There's no Anastasia Gray here," and she was like, she's trying to have her own identity, separate from him and this and the third, and at work. She's trying to have her own identity at work, and he's like, "Well, why can't you just do it as Gray? Like, why did you? Who cares?" But he's like, "Well, apparently you care." So they have a whole little back and forth about that. Then she like, "All right, well, yeah, it's not bad. It's nothing like too serious or deep." But then uh, she was like, "I'll think about it." And then she's like, "Well, my boss's boss, like, which is him," she's like, "is a pain." So she kicks him out, and then she tells her the Arthur to come back in. And then they get into a car, and then they drive they drive off. So that's after 20 minutes. That's after 20 minutes. So yeah, nothing too whatever, but I had to just stop it at the 20-minute mark. So that is 50 Shades Freed after 20 minutes. Whew.